Welcome to Your Illini Nation pregame show. I'm Brice, Bement. Alongside me is Illini Inquirer's Derek Piper. Derek, thanks so much for being here today as we begin the matchup against Illinois versus Northwestern. Illinois lost to Northwestern by 13 earlier this year in January in Evanston on the road, but now they're wanting to get revenge with their in-state rivals. But we'll just start with the biggest news to start the night. Terrence Shannon Jr. for Illinois. He's been out with a concussion the last 2 games. He's supposed to be in the lineup tonight. Obviously, what are your thoughts and how big of an impact is he going to have tonight?
Yeah, it's a huge deal when you're going up against one of the best defenses in the country, Northwestern, top 25 as far as defensive efficiency. And we know that Terrence can get downhill with the best of them, very athletic, can play on the ball and really create. And he was hitting threes before he'd gotten hurt there in that Penn State game. So if he can continue that, I think that's a big deal to take pressure off Matthew Meyer. You look at Jaden Epps, had a really good game. Really, Illinois' 5 starters the last time out against Minnesota in Shannon's absence really were productive. He had all 5 in double figures, but we know that Shannon commands a lot of attention. Chase Audice is one of the best perimeter defenders there in the Big Ten. I'm sure that Shannon will see him a lot tonight, but just to have him back in that mix, I think is a really big deal. Illinois did a pretty admirable job without him. You, of course, would have liked to get that game in Indiana, but really battled the Hoosiers to the wire in Shannon's absence. But good that he's progressing off that concussion against Penn State. And I know we saw him yesterday at Oven working out with Tim Anderson. Didn't know, I mean, he was in practice uniform and everything. Didn't know if he was going to be playing 5-on-5 and what his true status was. Brad didn't tip us off or anything, but he's out here tonight, and I think that is a very big deal. And
he's been knocking down threes already in warm-ups.
Yeah.
And I was watching yesterday, like you said, in Oven. I was like, oh, he might be playing, but you can't assume. Because he was warming up, and he was kind of doing some moves. I was like, you can touch. I don't know if you're doing that, but obviously he's not. He seems healthy, and he's back. But obviously, let's talk about this matchup a little bit. An in-state rivalry. Both teams were not the same team that they were when they matched up in January. So what kind of matchup do you think we're going to see tonight?
I mean, it's a red-hot Northwestern team, hottest team in the Big Ten. They won 5 in a row and have kind of proven a lot of people wrong because as the schedule got really tough down the stretch of their season, it's like, all right, this is where Chris Collins' team kind of falls off a cliff, and they've been a nice story, but this might be where they go away. But they've really put themselves in a great position to be an NCAA tournament team. They crushed Iowa in their last game, beat them by 20. They beat Purdue. They beat Indiana. So they're playing outstanding defense. That's kind of where it starts for them. They can turn you over. They did a great job of contesting in the paint. They make you kind of shoot a lot of jump shots and try to beat them from 3, which we know Illinois has had some struggles with the 3-point shot here throughout most of the season. But Boo Buie, a veteran guard, has really got it going. He scored 20-plus in the last 3 games, and he's someone that can really go off. So Illinois tonight trying to slow him down. He's had tough times in his career against Illinois. A lot of that due to Trent Frazier, who of course isn't in the building tonight. But we'll see if Illinois can kind of keep that trend up going for them. And on the Illini side, let's see if they can do a better job of getting revenge. They tried a chance that against Penn State, weren't able to get it done. Indiana, weren't able to get it done. Got to make sure Northwestern doesn't sweep you. But Shannon coming back's a big deal. And we know that Illinois, for the most part, with the way that Meyer's playing, one of the best players in the Big Ten, it was great to see RJ break out. Now we'll see if that's a real breakout turning point spot for him or if it's just going to be a little bit of a blip on the radar. If they can get him going in addition to what has been consistent for them otherwise, that'd be a big deal as they trend towards March.
And Brad Underwood was talking just yesterday about all these Northwestern guards causing a lot of issues. You mentioned Boo Buie. Who do you think is going to be on him? And I guess what kind of game do you think you're going to see with him tonight?
I think it is an interesting dilemma to try to figure out who you're going to put on him. You might switch some things up and give him some different looks. Shannon might be able to draw that matchup. You want to put Epps on Ty Berry, who's pretty much more of a shooter from the perimeter. I think Jaden's done a really good job of staying with those type of guys. And not that Buie has like Jalen Pickett kind of size to really body him up too much, but I think if Shannon's feeling as good as possible, he might be able to do a good job on him. I think Ty Rodgers could be in that mix a little bit as well. Sincere Harris, because he's obviously rangy and quick and everything. So I would throw a number of different guys at him. I don't think you can necessarily go wrong. It's just one thing that in addition to Bowie's shot making, which he's done really well recently, is he got in the free throw line a lot. So Illinois has to make sure not to reach on him, try and stay in front, and not allow him to draw contact in the lane, because he's one of the best guards in the Big Ten at getting to the free throw line, and that's a big part of his production.
And before we get into the foul trouble that could be potentially Northwestern's defense, and Chase Audich has 65 steals in his last 27 games. He's leading the Big Ten in steals. You know, what does Illinois need to do? Earlier this year, when Illinois hadn't worked out their offense, that was a big thing, was turnovers for them. But obviously, they've had a turnaround with their offense. But do you think he's going to cause some havoc for Illinois tonight?
He's a tough defender. Like, he really gets into you. He's very athletic, long arms, great anticipation when he's kind of playing those passing lanes. And between Bowie, Audich, and Ty Berry, all those guys really do a good job of hunting for steals. And with their ball pressure, they can kind of speed you up and get you off kilter, and when you look at even some of their recent outings, like forced 16 turnovers against Purdue, like Indiana forced 13 or 14. So they've done it to some good offenses. Obviously, even different than when Illinois wasn't at the time in January, a good offense. So I think that Audich is someone that will see a lot of Shannon, assuming Shannon's full go and able to play a full allotment of minutes. But he's someone that you got to be able to be careful and kind of always know where he's at. And it's just coming down to execution. I think that Dane will probably see a double team inside, and that's something they've been doing here recently. So Illinois being able to penetrate the gaps, drive and kick. Luke Goody in the corner. Minnesota didn't really help off him. I think that he'll get some looks tonight. That's kind of the recipe, because Northwestern gave Illinois a lot of open threes in that last matchup. They didn't make enough of them. Don't want to see them fall in love with that, but you got to make open shots to beat this defense.
And a lot of people were disappointed with Illinois' defense at Penn State, but offensively they were hitting it. So if they can kind of continue that, momentum forward, they have been doing better from the three. So if they're giving it, and it's kind of, if they're hot or not though. But you mentioned Luke Goody, RJ Melendez is back. He had a double-double his first career last game. Do you think he's gotten past that, his little kind of, I don't want to say he was doing badly, but maybe like a little bit of a yips or something going on. Do you think he's kind of gotten past that and has gotten more comfortable now?
You would hope so. It was a perfect confidence-building game against Minnesota, the worst team in the Big Ten, and whether he's going to be super consistent or not, that'll have to play out, and we'll see as the weeks go forward. I just think that hopefully that confidence is something that he can carry into this game, and I just love the energy that he played with. I thought early on the way he got after on the glass, obviously when you have 11 rebounds, you're rebounding really well. Matthew Meyer kind of jokes, he's like, hey, on that first rebound I saw RJ skying above me. He's like, oh, RJ's going to bring it tonight. So if he can establish himself as a rebounder, as a defender, just play with really good energy and let the rest of his game come to him, I think that's a great formula for RJ. And we know his athleticism, like the dunks that he was able to get. Like a lot of people, for good reason, is focused on his shot making. Is he making threes or not? If he can get downhill and be able to establish that, that would be good to see. So I don't know what we're going to see from RJ tonight. Just hopefully a guy that's felt some confidence and maybe can push some of those struggles to the side.
And we talked about, the foul trouble potentially, and Northwestern likes to kind of draw those fouls, get on the free throw line. They're a great free throw shooting team. What do you think Illinois needs to do? Illinois, has gotten in foul trouble several games here. I guess not a good combo for Illinois here. I guess what are your thoughts with that?
I think sometimes Illinois just picks up cheap fouls. They'll reach in, they'll deep in the backcourt, they'll go for a rebound, and you kind of just got to, let the opponent get that one and get back on defense. But it's really about not defending with your hands and defending, sliding your feet with your body and everything. And yeah, like I said with Bowie, you got to be able to stay in front of him. The more he's able to get closer and closer into the paint, the more apt he's going to be able to draw that foul call. So Northwestern, when you look at it, the shooting percentages from three and really just from the field in general aren't that impressive. It is them relying so much on getting to the line. They're number one in the Big Ten in free throw rate. They shoot 75% as a team from the free throw line. So they kind of lean on that as a big part of their offensive production. If Illinois, who has had some foul trouble, so they get a little too overly aggressive, if you can play a physical game but not a reckless game with your physicality, that's kind of trying to find that balance. And it is judging how officials are going to call the game early on. You'll see that. So, okay, they're going to let us play a little bit, be physical, then you kind of adjust. Otherwise, if it's tightly contested, then you got to dial it back a little bit.
You briefly touched on Northwestern's maybe potential game plan for offense, but what do you think Illinois is going to do potentially differently, definitely differently from the last time these two faced each other? But what do you think their game plan is? Put yourself in Brad Underwood's shoes. What would maybe you do for your lineup?
I think that you want to get Terrence Shannon going early, try to build that confidence, get him back in a rhythm after missing those games. You want to have the ball in his hands and get downhill. Of course, Matthew Myers really established himself as the alpha on this team, so still run a lot of actions for Matt, get his get him some shots. I like his matchup against Robbie Barron, who's not as athletic as him. I think that off the bounce he can be able to create and get some of those looks. And Jaden Epps, with Shannon back in the mix, doesn't have as much pressure on him to create opportunities. But I know that Brad, even yesterday and after the Minnesota game, said, hey, I want Jaden to just play, just like be him, be aggressive. We have a lot of faith in him. So Jaden Epps still being able to look for his shot and try to just settle all the way into this, having the keys as the point guard. So as I mentioned too, Luke Goody's got to be able to hit those corner threes. I think RJ, whoever gets those opportunities, because Northwestern's really going to cheat inside. Their defense really collapses on those drives, and it creates openings on the perimeter. I think Coleman Hawkins is another one. It was great to see him knock down 3 threes against Minnesota. I think when he gets aggressive inside the arc, that's also a good thing, a good barometer of it's going to be a good Coleman game. And I think when you're facing a good defense, a team that has a lot of veterans, you need someone like Coleman to show up tonight. And I just think this is a really big game for Illinois with their tournament stock. And for any chance to get that double bye still in the Big Ten tournament, you need this one tonight.
And like you mentioned, I was actually just about to ask you that, but for maybe those who don't know, Illinois has this game, Ohio State, Michigan, and Purdue. So besides the Ohio State game, when it is on the road, but Michigan and Purdue are 2 hot teams right now as well. How important is this game for maybe those who don't know for Illinois to get a nice spot in the Big Ten tournament?
Yeah, I think it's huge. I think you have to at least go 3-1 over the next 4 to try to have a legit shot at getting one of those top 4 spots to get that double bye and not have to play until Friday. And really, as you look at it, the season finale at Purdue, that's really tough. So I would say try to win these next 3, win the 2 at home against Northwestern and Michigan. And Ohio State going on the road is never easy, but that's a team that's lost 8 in a row. So right now they're not playing good basketball. I think as far as you look at the resume too for the tournament, like Northwestern isn't a quad 1 win right now for Illinois, but I've talked about it on these pregame shows. A top 4 seed in the Big Ten, I think says something to the tournament committee. If you want a chance at like a 6 seed or better, then I think this is one that you need to get. Otherwise, you're putting yourself you're capping your ceiling a little bit. You want to stay away from the 8-9 game because, of course, you got to play the 1 in the second round if you win your game, and then even a 7 seed to go up against a 2 seed. This is a big one at home, and to bolster your tournament stock is important.
Yeah, if they can win tonight for Illinois fans, and as well as that Michigan game in Ohio, then I feel like they'd be in a decent spot. Illini fans want them to win against Purdue. That's going to be a tough one, though, on the road. Purdue is pretty tough to take, but you never know. You never know. But what do you see happening tonight? Illinois versus Northwestern, rivalry game. It's going to be packed. I think it might be a sold-out crowd. What do you see tonight? What do you forecast happening?
I like that Shannon's back in the lineup. I think that's a big shot in the arm for a team that just offensively against this type of a defense can really, like I said, take some pressure off of Meyer, Epps. And this is one of those where Illinois should be looking to play its best basketball down the stretch. I think they did a really good job in the Indiana game. Minnesota kind of messed around a little bit. Maybe didn't get as up for that game as you would have liked. And that tends to happen when you play a team that's like 1-13, 1-14 in Big Ten play. But I think they will sense that this is a huge game. The revenge factor, playing at home, and then I think that just battling to make sure that nothing comes easy for Boo Buie. I think that Illinois' guys on the perimeter will sense that, hey, he's had it going here recently. They got to be able to shut him down and do what Trent Frazier's done here recently without Trent here in the building. So I think it's a decently close game. I know the spread's around 6. I actually got it right on the button there, 72-66 Illinois. So Illinois wins by 6. I'm kind of copping out and not picking a side as far as the spread, but I think Illinois wins at home.
That's actually really weird because you had very similar numbers to me. Originally, I won't lie, I had Northwestern taking it home if Shannon wasn't in the lineup. But now that he's in it, I had to kind of get my thoughts here. I'm saying Illinois, I don't want to do the exact same, but I was going to say 72. You said 72,
yeah,
right? I was going to say 72. Just to switch it up, I'll say 74. And I'll say Northwestern 67. Okay. I'll do 68. I'll make it a little bit closer.
All right.
There we go, 68.
6-point win.
Because you were very close to what I was going to say. I was like, oh, wait, you're taking the numbers out of my mouth. But, all right, I think it's going to be close.
Last pregame show, Andy and I both landed on 78 points for Illinois. They scored 78.
Yeah.
So sometimes when we got the synergy, then...
And a fun stat, I'm pretty sure almost all the games that Illinois has kept teams under 70 points, I think
Yes.
they've won. If that's, don't
Yes.
quote me exactly, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was. So if they are able to keep Northwestern under 70 points, right now that's what their statistics are showing. Illinois wins those ones. So
Good indicator.
there we go. So you never know, but like we said, we'll have all our post-game coverage here on our social media channels. We'll have Illinois head coach Brad Underwood in the post-game press conference. Also be sure to tune in tonight at 10. We'll have highlights if you missed the game, as well as a little bit of a recap from myself as well. But for Illini Inquirer's Derek Piper, thanks so much for being here, and thanks for listening to the Your Illini Nation pregame show.